Then Dasharatha was convinced. He said, very good. So wherever Rama goes, Lakshmana has to go. So that is how Vishwamitra asked only for Rama. But Lakshmana followed Rama. So they went. Very good. Most of you go to Tirupati, right? Or at least on Saturdays you chant Suprabhatam. Venkateshwara Suprabhatam, right? So what is the fastest shloka in Suprabhatam? I know, you know that you cannot go wrong. Go ahead. So Kausalya Supraja Rama. Good. Yamma, in that shloka, is there anywhere a word Venkateshwara? No. Is there any word like Govinda, Srinivasa, Tirumala, Tirupati? Nothing is there. Actually, you are praying, hey Rama, the wonderful son of Kausalya, please wake up. It is early morning. It is time. We have got divine duties to perform. Poor Venkateshwara. Night till 1 o'clock also Dharma Darshan. Not even 2 hours of sleep. 3 o'clock you go and knock on the door and say, Kausalya Supraja Rama, wake up, wake up. What do you think that Venkateshwara will say? Don't you think he will get mad at you? And that too you are saying, Rama, Rama, wake up. Right? He will simply say, hello, go to Bhadrachalam or Ultimeter and wake up that Rama, why are you bugging me, right? Till 1 o'clock we had darshan, and now not even 2 hours of sleep. This was Kausalya Supraja Rama. He is not at all from Venkateshwara Suprabhata. He is actually from Valmiki Ramayana. He is actually from Valmiki Ramayana. Rama, Lakshmana, on the first day of their journey to the forest, they walked with the Maharshi Vishwamitra. Vishwamitra doesn't wear shoes, so they cannot wear shoes. They have to walk barefoot in the hot sun. And that too they are royal kids, not accustomed to this kind of, hard walking without any shoes or anything. By evening, they reached the first day evening, they reached the banks of the river Sarayu. The Maharshi gave them some bananas and some fruits. They ate, they drank the water from the river Sarayu. They fell asleep on the sands of the river Sarayu. And the next morning, they didn't wake up. Vishwamitra went to wake up Rama. Vishwamitra went to wake up Rama. And he got stunned. Rama was the most handsome person. Just looking at the beautiful face of Rama, Vishwamitra just stood there for a long time, enjoying the beauty of Rama. Then his mind was thinking, how fortunate will be that Kausalya. When Rama was there in the palace for 8 years, every morning that mother would have come and enjoyed the beautiful face of this Rama, and she would have woke him up every day. So he thought, Kausalya Supraja Rama. How fortunate is that Kausalya to see this wonderful face of Rama, and how much she would have enjoyed before she actually woke up Rama for 8 years. So that is how Valmiki Maharshi composed this verse, and Vishwamitra sang to wake up Rama. And afterwards, nobody could find a better verse to wake up Bhagavan. Venkateshwara Suprabhatam, Kausalya Supraja Rama. Govinda Raja Suprabhatam, Kausalya Supraja Rama. Ahobila Lakshmi Narasimha Suprabhatam, Kausalya Supraja Rama. So that has become the de facto standard verse to wake up Bhagavan, because nobody could compose a better verse than that. That is how Kausalya Supraja Rama came. Good. He woke up, kids got up, they took their bath and got ready after their prayers. That time, Vishwamitra gave 2 unimaginable technologies to Rama and Lakshmana. That kind of technology we don't even have now. You know what they could be? Bala, Ati Bala. If you have that kind of sciences now, if you want, you can eat, but you will never be hungry. You don't eat for 4 hours, you get hungry and you are forced to eat. But if you know that those Bala and Ati Bala, you will never feel hungry. But if you want, you can eat. Same thing, if you want, you can drink some water, but you are never thirsty. If you want, you can sleep, but you are never tired that you are forced to sleep. Bala and Ati Bala. I wish we had them, right?
Yes.
Then nobody will go hungry. But we don't have them. That sciences are way different. In fact, more than Rama, they became very useful to Lakshmana. You know how? More than Rama.
He was not sleeping for almost throughout the Vanavasam.
There is much more than that. For some time, leave Rama, go to Ravana. That Ravana had a wonderful son called Indrajit. That fellow's name is not Indrajit. Indrajit is a title for him. His real name was Meghanada. When that fellow was born, generally newborn baby will cry. But this fellow's cry was like the thunder from the clouds. That little fellow's cry was like the thunder. So that's why he was called Meghanada, means the thunder from the clouds. But afterwards he defeated Indra, so he got the title Indrajit. He did tapasya to Brahma and asked for only one thing. I should not have death. We will come to that. After defeating Indra, Indrajit became so arrogant, he went round the world defeating everyone to declare that he is a Prapancha Vijayata, world winner. Everybody he could defeat. Finally he went to Patala Loka to defeat Adisesha. But there he came across a beautiful girl, Sulochana. The minute the girl is there, fighting everything has gone. So he went behind that girl, and you know the standard dialogue, right? I love you. That's it. And that girl said, okay, will you marry me? Oh sure, I will marry you. Good, get my father's permission. Who is your father? That Adisesha is my father. So Indrajit went and asked Adisesha, I would like to marry your daughter. Adisesha said, no way. I am a bed for the Supreme Lord Sriman Narayana. You and your father Ravana hate Sriman Narayana. How can I give my daughter to you who hate my Lord? I cannot give. Indrajit was so arrogant. He said, who cares for your permission? I am taking away your daughter, do whatever you want. And he took away Sulochana. Adisesha got so angry with Indrajit. 1,000 heads are there for Adisesha. One drop of poison is enough to burn the entire universe. But 1,000 heads of spitting poison could not affect Indrajit. Because this Indrajit prayed to Brahma and got a boon. What boon? Let there be no death. Brahma said, after my 100 years are over, even I have to die. What I don't have, how can I give you? Then he said, do something so that I am almost like, no death. Then Brahma said, generally nobody can kill you. But if there is somebody who is married and still a brahmachari, a bachelor for 14 years, if there is somebody who will not even eat anything for 14 years, if there is somebody who will not even drink anything for 14 years, if there is somebody who will not even sleep for 14 years, if some such person is there, he can kill you. Then Indrajit thought, that is enough. That means I am almost like no death. Because he thought, who will get married and still remain a bachelor for 14 years? How can a person live without eating for 14 years, without drinking for 14 years, without sleeping for 14 years? That means that person will never exist at all. So he was so confident and arrogant that nobody can kill me. Now apply to Lakshmana. That day Adisesha said, if I cannot kill you today, I will rather take one more birth and will come and kill you. He said, I will take one more birth and will come and kill you. The same Adisesha came as Lakshmana, married Urmila, left her there in Ayodhya, married bachelor for 14 years. Bala and Adibala doesn't have to eat, doesn't have to drink, doesn't have to sleep for 14 years. In the battlefield, it is not Rama who could kill Indrajit, it is Lakshmana who killed. And the minute Sulochana heard that her husband is killed, you know what she did? She straight walked into the battlefield, touched the feet of Lakshmana and said, your daughter is prostrating to you, sir. Because that day Adisesha said, if I cannot kill you today, I will rather take another birth and come and kill you. And she knows those words. And she knows nobody can kill her husband other than her own father, if at all somebody can kill. So she heard that and she remembered it. She came straight and then prostrated to Lakshmana. Mahatmas know that these things will be useful to Lakshmana, but he cannot teach to Lakshmana without teaching to the elder brother. That's why he taught to both of them, Rama and Lakshmana, and Lakshmana made the best use of it. Good. So Rama, Lakshmana, they learned those sciences. They came to protect to Siddhashrama. Vishwamitra's ashram is called Siddhashrama. Over there Vishwamitra's yajna. 7 days was the yajna. 6 days went on peacefully. 6th day night, that's it, tomorrow is the Purnahuti. That's it, the Rakshasas came. Rama Banam, Amogham. If Rama releases the arrow, it has to kill the person. It has to hit the target. With the first arrow, Rama killed Tataka. With the second arrow, Subahu was killed. But when Rama took the third arrow and shot Maricha, Maricha was not killed. Maricha was thrown 10 miles away. Question is, what happened to Ramabana? Power Tagipai died. First arrow could kill Tataka. Second arrow could kill Subahu. Why Maricha was not killed? Any idea? Or is it that Rama is thinking, hello, you fellow, you do for some time. After some time I will come back to the forest. Then you come as a golden deer. Then Ravana can come and take away my wife. So you wait until that time, that's why Rama kept him alive. What happened to Ramabana? Why that Rama's arrow could not kill? First arrow could kill Tataka. Second arrow could kill Subahu. Voltage down, power supply less. No. Rama is a Dharma Murti. Dharmam and nothing other than Dharmam Rama thinks. When Rama was pulling the third arrow, you know what Rama was thinking? With my first arrow, I killed the mother Tataka. Second arrow, I killed one of her sons, Subahu. If I kill with this arrow her other son Maricha also, there is nobody to do the Pinda Pradhanam and the Tarpanam for the dead people. So let this fellow live. Can you imagine Rama's dharma? Even while shooting the arrow, what all he thinks is it dharmam to kill him or not? Or is there anything that is a dharmam that is left over? That much of dharmam Rama followed. No one would have ever followed anywhere dharmam as much as Rama followed. So when he took that arrow, he was only thinking of the same thing. The mother is killed, one of her sons are killed, and if the other son, this fellow is also killed, there is nobody to do after somebody is dead, the Pinda Pradhanam and the Tarpanam, so let this fellow live for some time. See how Rama thinks. Vishwamitra's yajnam is protected. After that, Vishwamitra was very happy. Then what you should do? Don't you think Vishwamitra should take Rama and Lakshmana back to Ayodhya? Because that old man, middle-aged man Dasharatha was thinking, how can I live without my Rama? Should not Vishwamitra take Rama and Lakshmana back to Ayodhya and say, thank you Dasharatha, you got a great son, they did a great job, right? No. He took Rama and Lakshmana to get them married. Can we say, we will conduct a summer camp for your kids. Send all your children. We will teach them some shlokas for 2 weeks. And after 2 weeks, what we should do? Send them back to you, right? Can we get them married in a summer camp without your knowledge? And that too without even informing their parents, right? Exactly what Vishwamitra did, right? Why do you think he did that? Lok Kalyanam, ఈయనకైనా పట్టుకుంది ఇంకెవరికి పట్టుకోలేదా? ఈయన చేయకపోతే రాముల గారికి పెళ్లి కాదా? Why did Vishwamitra take Rama and Lakshmana all the way to Mithila to get them married? And that too without even informing the parents. He did not inform Dasharatha. Dasharatha was thinking, my Rama is still in the forest with Vishwamitra.
Yeah.
The reason is way beyond you think. Ramayana is, Rama's coming is to give Sharanagati. That Sharanagati guarantees moksham to everyone. Absolute surrender at the feet of Rama is called Sharanagati. And if you do that, anybody you may be, you will get moksha. Vishwamitra thought, I did so much of tapasya, but I did not get moksha. Because every time I go for tapasya, first time I went, had a bitter argument with Vasishtha, fought with him, all that tapasya is gone. Again I went back to tapasya. This time another challenge came. Can you send Trishanku to Swargam? I spent all my tapasya to send Trishanku to Swargam. Indra pushed him down. I had to create another artificial Swargam for him. All my merit is gone. Again Vishwamitra went to tapasya. This time another challenge came. Can you try and say whether Harishchandra will tell a lie or not? Then I used all foul methods. Whether Harishchandra can be defeated. But Harishchandra stood firm. I lost all my tapasya. Again I went back to tapasya. This time Menaka came into the picture. And I got involved with Menaka and got a daughter. All the tapasya is gone. Any amount of tapasya I do, I am not getting moksha. If at all I had to get moksha, that Sharanagati at the feet of Lord Rama is the guaranteed way for moksha. So to do Sharanagati, Fasting you should do at the feet of Mahalakshmi, and then that Mahalakshmi will recommend this Jivatma to Bhagavan Sriman Narayana for moksha. So where is that Narayana? Here as Lord Rama in Dasharatha. That's why he went and got Dasharatha. But to do Sharanagati, where is that Mahalakshmi? Over there in Mithila. That said, no Dasharatha, nothing. He brought Rama only to do Sharanagati, bringing them together, Rama and Sita. He can do Sharanagati at the feet of Sita first, and Sita then will recommend to Rama. His moksham is guaranteed. That is why he did. Otherwise, in Valmiki Ramayana, there are more than 1,000 verses describing about Vishwamitra until Sita Kalyan. The minute the Kalyanam is over, he did Sharanagati. That's it, not even one word about Vishwamitra. Vishwamitra, just one sentence. Vishwamitra retired to Mandharagiri to spend his life peacefully because his moksham is guaranteed. That moksham, Sharanagati, is the most important one. So, he brought all the way. Then on the way, of course, Ahalya's Shapa Vimochanam, then Sita Devi's Swayamvaram. Vedic marriages are way different from our marriages. Most of you got married. Just because a priest came and chanted mantras, it doesn't become Vedic marriage. You have to follow some rules and regulations. So you are wondering, there are rules for marriage also, right? That the boy and the girl get married, right? That's all, right? No, there are rules also. You got married, right? How did you get married? Or anybody for that matter? You are too young, so let's say your mother. So Uma got married. How did Uma get married? Her father wanted to get her married and was looking for a son-in-law, and he found Krupananda. Mistake. That is not the right way. You ended up in your husband's house after marriage. It should never be the girl's parents' responsibility to get you married. It should be the boy's parents' responsibility and get a good girl into the family. It should be the boy's parents searching for the girl according to the dharma. We don't follow. Anyway, your father invited him.
That's why the olden days, right?
Exactly. Really? Your father found him. Then he invited him. He came to see you. You served all the laddu, jalebi, Mysore pak. He ate. Then he started interviewing you. Can you sing? Can you dance? Can you cook? No, not at all correct. According to dharma, boys and boys' parents have no right to interview the girls. Dharma, the girls and the girls' parents can interview the boys. Can't believe? Look at Sita Devi's marriage. If you have a beautiful daughter, 10 boys will line up in front of your house every day and calling you mama, mama, mama. You have a beautiful daughter, you give your daughter to me. Same thing, Adi Rupavali Sita. Boys used to line up. Janaka said, nothing doing. You want to marry my daughter? Welcome, sir. Get ready for the interview. Do Shivadhanur Bhangam, then talk about marriage. Same thing about Draupadi, Mahabharata time. Draupadi is the beautiful girl. Boys used to line up. Drupada said, you want to marry my daughter? Welcome, sir. Get ready for the interview. Do Matsyentra Bhedam, then talk about marriage. Nala Damayanti. Damayanti interviewed everyone and married Nala. Marriage is an interview for the boys, not for the girls. But we don't follow. Now come over here. Sita, Swayamvar. Janaka Maharaja arranged. Anybody who wants to marry my daughter, prove that you are a great hero. Do Shivadhanur Bhangam, then talk about marriage. By the way, Rama was 16 when he was getting married. How old is Sita when she got married? చెప్పండి ఇంకా చెప్పలేదు అనుకున్నాను. సో ఎంత ఉంటుందమ్మా? 17. రాముల వరకే 16. దట్ మీన్స్ ఇంకో 17, 18 ఉంటాయా? Will it become Kanyadanam then? Exactly. Janaka Maharaja is the greatest of the greatest of Dharma Murti. He will never do adharma. ఎవరు రాశారో కానీ సీత తమ్ముడు వరకనే పద్ధతి అంతకన్నా పెద్ద అబద్ధం లేదు. According to Valmiki Ramayana, Sita Devi was never older to Rama. Sita Devi was 4 years younger to Rama. Ashta Varshet Bhavet Kanya. When Sita Devi was 8 years old, Janaka Maharaja announced the marriage of his daughter. 4 years have gone by. Now Sita is 12 years old. Not even one fellow could come and lift Shivadhanus. So he could not get his daughter married. Mochita Janaka Hridaya Shanka Tanka. Janaka Maharaja was literally worried every day. My goodness, my daughter is 12. Any day she will become Pushpavati. That means I cannot do Kanyadanam. I cannot do Kanyadanam. Literally he was shedding tears every day. The minute he saw Rama, thank God, finally somebody came. I think he can do it. Mochita Janaka Hridaya Shanka Tanka. Sita Devi was 12 years old. Read original Ramayana. It is a beautiful composition. You will know so many things. But unfortunately, what is in Ramayana, we don't know. What is not in Ramayana, we are all experts. Sita is never older to Rama. Many people think Sita is older to Rama. You know one thing? Suppose a husband becomes a dictator. What he will do? Before going to the office, you will draw a line in front of the house and say, Lakshmana Rekha. You cross this line and break your legs, you cannot come inside, right? That Lakshmana Rekha is so popular. Read Valmiki Ramayana. There is no Lakshmana Rekha at all. There is no Lakshmana Rekha at all. But that is so our people have concocted so many things. తెలుగులో చెప్తారే కాళిదాసు కవిత్వానికి మన పైత్యం యాడ్ చేశారు. సో కాళిదాసు కవిత్వం కన్నా మన పైత్యం ఎక్కువైంది అనమాట రామాయణానికి. సో దేర్ వాజ్ నో లక్ష్మణ రేఖ ఎట్ ఆల్. సో సీతాదేవి వాజ్ ఓన్లీ 12. And Janaka Maharaja looking at Rama and Lakshmana was so happy and asked Vishwamitra, who are these two wonderful boys? He says, Vrusha Shardura Sannipaha. One is looking like a ferocious tiger, another is looking like a bull. You know what he meant? Because the tiger is there, the bull is playing down. If the tiger is not there, even the bull can charge and do anything that the tiger can do. Indirectly, because Rama is there, he will do Shivadhanurabhangam. If Rama is not there, even Lakshmana can do Shivadhanurabhangam. By the way, why did he say both of them Vrusha Shardura Sannipaha? Because he has two daughters to get married. He has two daughters to get married, Sita and Urmila. So he was just thinking, if I give Sita to Rama, can I give Urmila to Lakshmana? That is why he was actually thinking, Vrusha Shardura Sannipaha. Nobody is inferior there. Lakshmana is in no way inferior to Rama. If Rama cannot do that, or Rama did not do that, Lakshmana can do that. That much of confidence Janaka Maharaja had. Then, that Shivadhanurabhangam. How heavy is that Shivadhanus? Any idea? 100 pounds, 200 pounds, 500 kilograms? Yeah, go ahead, చెప్పండి. Tons. మీకు ఎక్కడ టన్ అని చెప్పారా కానీ వాల్మీకి నెవర్ సెడ్ ఇట్ టన్స్. బట్ వాల్మీకి గివ్స్ ఇన్ అ డిఫరెంట్ వే. దట్ Shivadhanus was there in a prayer room downstairs. From the prayer hall to bring it to the assembly hall upstairs, that Shivadhanus was kept in a box with wheels. And that wheeled box, to bring it to upstairs, 5,000 servants have to push it up. That much heavy it is. Whether it is 5 tons, 10 tons, we don't know. But the only indication he gave was that the Shivadhanus was so divine that nobody could even lift it, and 5,000 servants have to push that cart to bring it upstairs. That heavy was Shivadhanus. Whereas Rama is the Supreme Lord Narayana. For him, it is nothing. And Rama was only 16 years of age. Age 16. But you know how tall is Rama? Yes. Exactly when you say Ajanu Bahum Aravindha Dadaya Paksham Ramam Nishachara Vinashakaram Namami, how tall is that Ajanu Bahu? 8 feet tall. Rama was 8 feet tall. These days we are very, 5 feet 4, 5 feet 5, nothing compared to 8 feet of Rama. Still can't believe it? Next time when you go to India, go to a place called Chitrakutam. Just don't make a trip, only say New York to Hyderabad, Hyderabad to New York. No. Visit some great places, Mathura, Vrindavan, Ayodhya, Chitrakutam. In Chitrakutam we have the footprints of Rama. Even till today it is there. The footprint of Rama is 18 inches long. And people could not believe Rama could be 8 feet tall. So all the computer engineers, along with the anthropologists, they did a 3D reconstruction in their computers. So with all the 3-dimensional reconstruction, even they could come exactly, the foot size itself is 18 inches long, what could be the person? 8 feet tall was Rama. And the Shiva Dhanush was also 8 feet long. But the string there is only 7.5 feet. Rama with just one hand could lift it. It is not the brute strength, it is the divine power with which Rama could lift. Then to string it, the test was never